everybody. Morning.
Good morning.
Before we get going here, I'd like to call Ian forward. Ian is one of our graduating students, and he didn't quite get here on time. Come on up stage. Ian and I go back a long way. I can remember when I was holding him in my arms and he was in diapers. It was about 3 years ago. No, seriously, when he was a baby, I can remember when he started grade school here. I can remember when his front teeth were out. I can remember when he started high school, and he has just been a wonderful example of a good human being. Been active in every one of our programs. I love him dearly. He's also graduating this year, and we give you the very best, and I hope to see a lot more of you. Yep. Well, this is a special day because we have our graduating seniors with us, and at some point in time, the generations before you are going to pass off the baton. You'll take it, and the future will be in your hands. You can do whatever you want with it, and you'll create good things. You'll make good things happen. I just know that because we know that you have the wisdom, and we know that you have the wherewithal to make this world of ours a better place. You've got it. Now then, another thing I have to remind you of is that you're seniors in high school, or you just got out of high school, and you don't have a full grasp at this point in time. You don't have a full grasp of exactly how good you've got it. When I was growing up, I had to walk 2 blocks to school. Right. I only had 6 pairs of shoes, 3 pairs of boots, and 2 pairs of sandals. I mean, I'm just saying, things were tough. But it's going to be an exciting adventure. And as a gesture to not only the seniors here, but all of us who have graduated from something in our lives, but are now still students on the path of life, I would like to offer forth as a gesture or reminder for many of us 3 helpful little points on how your path of life can be a little bit easier and a little bit more fulfilling. And I'd like to begin with a story about 4 college students. They decided to go skiing for the weekend, even though their final chemistry test was Monday morning at 10 o'clock. So off they went. They had a grand time. So much fun, they decided to ditch the test on Monday, stay another day and go skiing, and then make up the story that on the way home they got a flat tire, they didn't have a spare, it was late at night, nobody would stop, and they were stranded for 9 hours, and that's why they missed the test. So they stayed another day. They got back on Tuesday, they went to the professor, they pleaded for mercy, and they told him the whole flat tire story. The professor was a very kind man. He said, "I understand your dilemma, and of course you can take the test over. If you come tomorrow morning, I'll make sure it's here. But," he said, "I expect very high marks from all of you." Taking this warning, the students went home, they studied all night. They were exhausted, but they got there in the morning, they went in to take the test. The professor put each one of them in a different room, and he gave them the test book. As they opened the test book, they were surprised to see that the entire test was confined to just one question. And that question was, which tire went flat? So, let that be a lesson. If you got a flat tire, go out and puncture the tire, so at least you really have one and you all know which one it is. Now, the moral of that story can be best explained by a very simple concept called the ABCs of life. It's very simple. Everybody here can understand it. And when we apply it to our lives, we'll find that our lives are much easier moving. The ABCs of life. The first is A, which is activity. Every single thing in your life is nothing more than the experience of the activity that's going on around you in this worldly sense or going on within your mind. Life is activity. We are always involved in something, whether we're sleeping and it's involved in a dream, or we're involved in sleeping, or we're awake and we're napping on the couch, whatever it is, we're always involved in some activity. Life is activity, our experience of the activity. Now, the emotional experience that comes from the activity is dependent upon how we define whatever it is we're participating in. In other words, it's what we believe. Our beliefs create the definition of what's going on around us. So A is activity, B is beliefs. What we believe is happening, because what we believe is happening then determines our actions and our reactions. How we engage in the activity, whether we resist it, whether we embrace it, whether we just turn away from it and walk away. It doesn't make any difference. So we have A, activity, B, beliefs, which causes our actions or reactions, and then C is consequences. Every action or reaction that we take has a consequence, whether that consequence is good, bad, or meaningless. It doesn't make any difference, but there's consequences for our actions and our reactions. Activity, belief about what that activity means, action, reaction results in a consequence. As I said before, consequences can be good or bad. They can be happy or sad. But the beautiful thing about the ABC concept of life is that we can determine when we have a bad consequence of some sort, what caused that. We can trace it back. The consequence was caused by an action or reaction that was caused by a belief in the way we engage in an activity. So if we do something wrong, and this is the whole point, I don't mean to draw it out, this is the whole point. If we find ourselves in a spot that is not good, where we've done something wrong, where we're facing negative consequences of any sort, the idea is to discover, how did we get in this place? And then trace it back. What was I thinking? And then trace it back to the activity we are involved in and what we need to do different next time so we never make the same mistake twice. It's just as simple as that. Go through life, never making the same mistake twice, and by the time you get to a bit down the road, you'll find that you have less and less negative situations in your life. The other day I was looking out the window, and this baby squirrel, a lot of baby squirrels around right now, but this baby squirrel jumped from a branch high up down to a lower branch, and the branch was very thin and very skinny. And I guess the leaves on it clouded its judgment or something, but it landed on the very end of this thin branch and was just had to grasp a hold of it because the branch swung downward, and then it swung upward, and then it swung downward, and then it swung upward, and that squirrel was just hanging on for dear life, and he could tell that it was scared because it just froze in that moment, just looking around to see if anybody else was watching. And it didn't know what to do. The squirrel didn't know what to do, so it just bounced and bounced until the branch quit bouncing, and then slowly it inched its way up. Now, I guarantee you that squirrel will never do that again. There's something in that little squirrel's mind that said, this wasn't right, what did I do wrong? I jumped to too small of a branch, I jumped too far out on the branch, and it just registers, I don't want to get in this situation again, so I'm not going to do that again. And if we as human beings have that same sort of mechanism, that same talent, we're wired for the same thing in our minds, if we find ourselves out on a limb, so to speak, we know that we can trace back what got us there, what to change, so we don't end up there again. Very, very simple. Now, second point I'd like to make is you were born into this world, the beginning of your life, and at some point in time you'll leave this world. Your life will come to an end. From the beginning of your life to the end of your life, you have time. Lots and lots of time. It's called your lifetime. And that time is all yours, nobody else's, and you can do with it whatever you want. So the question before you is, you have time, you have a lifetime, how are you going to spend it? You need to think about that. Not in a very deep, muddled, complex way, but just how do I want to spend my time? Just think about that. I don't care how you spend your time. First of all, I'm not going to get up here and preach about that. I don't care how you spend your time. I don't care what you do with it. I don't care what you go. I don't care how you live. I don't care about any of that as long as this time you spend has a sense of passion to it. See, your time, your lifetime is like a path. It is the path that is going to take you through life, and it's going to have some curves and twists. It's going to go uphill and it's going to go downhill. But the only thing that I ask is that the path that you put yourself on has a heart. And when I say heart, I mean heart is passion. Passion is, I'm glad on this path. I'm glad I'm who I am. I'm glad I'm going where I'm going. I'm doing what I'm doing. You have to have passion in your life, or all of life just runs a mess. You got to be passionate about who you are and what you're doing, because that keeps life alive. Without that, you're just drudging through life in a very sad and despairing way. When you find something that you want to do, that you really want to do, and it impassions you, have patience. If you find something that you want to do and you're impassioned with it, just plan on doing that thing for 10 years. Without any sign of success, 10 years, and get really, really, really good at it. There's another school of thought that says if you do something 10,000 times, you get really, really, really good at it. Find something you want to do. If it's impassioned, do it. Over and over and over again. Repetition is the key to success in life. You know, many people think that the Beatles were 4 kids that just got lucky and made it to the big time. But in actuality, the Beatles played 1,800 performances before they even hit it to the big time. Now think about that, 1,800 performances. That's more than most performers do in a lifetime. And they practiced 10 times that much. So they just didn't walk into that Sullivan show, say, put us on and we'll be hits. You know, they did something 10,000 times, and they became so good at it, and that the creativity within them took them to places that nobody else had ever gone. So what I'm saying is make sure that your path has passion. Do something really, really good. It can be anywhere from finding a cure for cancer to doing crossword puzzles. I don't care. Just do something that you're good at, really, really good at, and you'll find 10 years down the road that you can pretty much write your own ticket to what you want in life. The third thing is, in that pursuit, don't let anybody stop you or persuade you to do something that you don't want to do, to be somebody that you're not. And there'll be people out there that will try. There are people who will try to coax you, try to push you, try to expect you to do things differently than you're doing them, to be somebody other than what you are. There'll be people out there that'll tempt you to try and be somebody who you aren't. They'll tempt you to try to not be who you are. But I can guarantee you this absolutely positively. If they don't like you exactly the way you are, they're not going to like you pretending to be somebody else. So you stand in your selfhood confidently, strongly, and don't let anybody dissuade you from your path. In Greek mythology, there is a person called Procrustes. And Procrustes was a thief. And he's so lonely for company that he would go out on the trail and he would snap people up. He'd snatch them away and take them to his home. There he had this iron bed. It's called a Procrustean bed. And he'd put them in there. Now, Procrustes wanted people to be exactly the way he wanted people to be. So when he put them in the bed, if they were too short for the bed, he had a mechanism that would stretch them out. And if they're too long for the bed, he would chop off their legs so they fit perfectly in this Procrustean bed. Now, the Procrustean bed has become a metaphor for those people out there that attempt to change us into what they want us to be. They want us to conform to artificial standards, artificial expectations. They want us to conform to something that they think we should be, and in doing that, we totally ignore, turn away, betray our own selfhood. See, deep down within us, each and every one of us knows who we are. We know what we like, we know what we dislike, we know what our oddities are, we know what our eccentricities are, and all of those things joined together create the marvelous, wonderful expression of you. There's nothing wrong with you, nothing at all. Everything is absolutely divinely designed, perfect. And when you attune yourself to your nature, and you walk down your path of life that's impassioned with what you want to do, you'll discover an existence that goes beyond anything you've ever imagined. It can be just that good. And in leaving you, I'll tell you this. If there comes a time when somebody pulls you off the path, you wander off the path, you get lost, you forget who you are, that might happen. But if it does, you come back here, we will be here. And we will embrace you, we will welcome you, we'll accept you exactly the way you are, and we'll help you rediscover yourself. You can bank on that. So now we'll move into meditation. Take a moment to relax, take a deep breath, slowly exhale. And let's just feel how good it is to be alive. Let's be impassioned in this moment.